Hey everyone, this is Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty, episode 39. Today I have the founder of DigitalProfile, Mr. Dan Lewis. How are you doing today, Dan?
Yeah, feeling great. Saturday, Wales lost, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
I was watching that earlier, and it was good. It was a good match.
yeah, yeah, feeling okay. Yeah,
Good man. I'm surprised you're sober. To be honest, let's face it. If
yeah.
Wales
Well,
playing.
like I said earlier on, I had a bit of a large meal, so I've actually slept most of the afternoon.
Food coma, it happens to us all. It happens.
Correct. Yeah.
So fill me in about DigitalProfile, and then we can talk about how you got there, what's happened, some success, and some probably not some success as well.
Yeah, sure. So, DigitalProfile is a tech, creative, and IT talent marketplace, creative marketplace, matching people to opportunities within learning and jobs. And it's all based around privacy, transparency, and ethics. And I started it really because I had a real gripe with recruitment agencies and recruitment charges and the way that they operate.
As
So
many people do.
yeah. Well, the good thing is that everyone kind of that's been on that journey understands what I'm trying to do. And what I wanted to do is create a really user-centric platform for individuals to basically protect their data, to give themselves a way of presenting themselves with richer information, but also being in control of that information and being able to redeem it at any point. So I started that journey pretty much just before all this GDPR stuff come out. And actually, obviously, GDPR was starting to come through. And for us, it was just like, this is a brilliant marketing
Yeah.
kind of opportunity. Our product fits. This is what it was built for, around privacy.
Did you know GDPR was coming though?
No, it didn't. At the time when I
Ah,
created the idea, it was kind of just from pure pain points.
yeah.
So it was trying to build something very much different to anything else that had been out there. Everything else seems to be around about exposing your data
Mhm.
and using your data for advertising and so on. Whereas what I was trying to create something where we use your data, but you're in control of the data, so you can redeem it at any point and
Yeah.
deal with it at any point. So that's what DigitalProfile is, and it's just been a kind of crazy journey. Started it in 2016, raised some seed funding. We've had around about 600,000
Nice.
in seed. We're just raising again another investment round. We've gone from changing revenue models, pivoting,
Yeah.
going too wide to now really focused. So I've been through some journeys with it, and I've had previous businesses before, so I thought it was just going to be really easy, uh, and it just turns out it's completely difficult. So
Yeah.
there's lots of lessons learned across the journey.
Exactly. What were you doing? What were you doing beforehand?
So if I go back to kind of when I was 23 was when I had my first business. So it was me and my old business partner Andrew Cargill. Who we set together basically a business called I Got Munchies, which was in our student days, hosting takeaway menus online. Uh,
Okay.
but
It
obviously,
sounds like you were targeting a very specific demographic with the name Munchies.
yeah, definitely students. So we went after the student market. It worked really well. We used to do like world competition event, world record attempts on
Oh, nice.
pompadoms eating, pizza eating. Did lots of things. Got lots of kind of there's stuff on YouTube where people are smashing the hottest curries in competitions.
Nice.
Brilliant. But it failed. We couldn't get the business model right, and then Just Eat come out kind of with a more innovative product,
Yeah.
the ordering online, and really just kind of ruined everything that we were trying to create.
How did that feel when you saw Just Eat launch
Um,
and that you like looked at their platform for the first time?
so what we should have done, because there was a few that had come out. There was Just Eat, there was Hungry House,
Yeah.
there was a few other student kind of ones as well. What we had an idea. What we should have done is actually built like a compare the marketplace version. We brought all of the restaurants into one place, that then you could choose which restaurant, because at the moment you go to Just Eat, they only have so many different ones, and then you go to Hungry House, they have different ones.
Yeah.
Whereas you wanted kind of one place that had it all. So we should have changed and pivoted, but we were too young and dumb at the time to really. We just thought, this is crap, it's not working.
Yeah.
So we went into building a web development agency instead. So,
okay. So same business partner.
Sorry, I missed the question then.
So yeah, you're back. So I said same business partner with the website agency.
Yeah, so kind of whilst we were running I Got Munchies, we had to earn money. So yeah, just obviously pay the bills and drink beer at that time. So we basically ended up running a web development agency called PHP Genie. And we basically started it from our bedroom, 2 people, and over the course of 5 years ended up with offices in Miami.
Wow.
So it was a bit of a contrast. We had living in Newport in South Wales, and then jetting off for weeks then in Miami at points. So the contrast in weather was very different, and the scenery. So yeah, we basically ended up growing that business to about 30 people, with a team in the US and our main core team in the UK, which moved from Newport to Cardiff down the road in the end. And that was a journey on its own, starting with our first customer, which was like a strip club, Fantasy Lounge. I hope you know, a well-known club in Cardiff. To then basically the end days, we were dealing with companies like Axel Noble on big research projects and kind of Lighter Life, a big dieting firm. So the kind of journey was very, very radical on how fast we got there and how fast we grew up. And
how did you handle that? How did you handle that rapid growth and jetting off to Miami and coming back to Newport, to such different places as well?
Yeah, so it was kind of very organic. We were growing customer base very fast. We were getting very known for what we were doing very fast. And because we become specialist in e-commerce, and e-commerce was kind of starting to come really into fruition when we started. We were still dealing with old platforms like OzCommerce at the time, which are really old legacy platforms. And then we were one of the first kind of adopters to move into Shopify, and working with businesses within Shopify when they were growing. So we just ended up working Magento, Shopify, become really well known. And because we were kind of at the early stages of it all, everyone was coming to us to
you're well positioned.
Yeah, and it was purely just by accident and making some choices along the journey. Those ha-ha moments, that allow you to grow. We took a little bit of investment on at the early days. So when it was just me and Andy, and we were taking on our first employee, there was an investor that joined us and just give us the kind of some of the things that we needed. So he got us like money for 2 cars so that we could get to client meetings, because we didn't have any money to buy cars. So we secured us two brand new Seat Leons. It was amazing, straight from the factory.
The classic Leon.
Yeah. Brand dropping here like crazy.
Hashtag ad.
There are other choices.
There are other cars available.
Yeah. And then we also took this guy's kind of wages for a year from the investor, so that we had it definitely secured. And I remember when we first started, like every time we got a client, it was almost cash in hand in the early days.
Yeah.
And like a client would give you like £1,000 deposit to get your project going, and me and Andy would just split it 50-50, no business sense.
Yeah.
And the cash was in our hands, and it just felt amazing.
I bet.
And then we just wrote a target on the wall. Then when we took our first person, like, we need to get $3,000 a month to make sure at least all our bills are covered between us all. We took a student on that had just finished and graduated that was really talented. So he worked with us and knew the risk. And then before you know it, we're looking at the board. We've got to do 40,000 a month, and the team's grown, and then we got basically our first investor introduced us to another guy called Freddie Dellis, who great name. Harvard business guy.
Yeah.
He was the CEO of Burger King. International, Hertz International. He was the CEO.
Nice. Top big guy then.
Yeah, Norwegian Cruise Lines. He built the world's most expensive cruise liner.
Wow.
Which was for the luxury and for the rich. He's actually building another one at the moment, an actual health line cruiser. So he's just secured like 41 million to start that off. So we ended up basically having him as an investor, which he was from Miami. So we wanted to go to America to kind of, the e-commerce market was going to boom way bigger than it was, in the UK, especially with Shopify. So we said to set an office up in the United States, and so we went around different places, Boston, San Francisco. Realized it was all really expensive, and he went, "Well, let's just go to Miami where I live." And we ended up working out of a place called the Lab in Miami and setting the team up there. So we had this this weird lifestyle of like our little apartments in Newport, where it was raining and miserable, to this like apartment that overlooked kind of just down from South Beach.
That must have been a like pinch yourself moment though.
Yeah, it had a pool, it had the gym. It was it's
proper Miami Vice.
Yeah, it was just amazing. So I look back now and I just think that what I didn't do at the time was take advantage of some of those things that we were exposed to, because we were so drowning in the work and the business of it all. So I remember my first time going to LA was flying to the airport for a meeting, jumping in a taxi, going to the meeting, coming back out, flying back on the plane to Miami. And I was just like, Christ, I hope I get to see things more like that's not going to LA at all. So when we were doing these things, we realized we needed to take advantage of them. So we ended up kind of having clients in different places. So we used to have one in Iceland, and we used to work with International Baccalaureate in Amsterdam as well. So we would organize our meetings on the Friday, and then we would fly back on the Sunday. So we made sure then that's how we organized our travel and meetings. Anywhere we went. So
what happens PHP Genie then?
So Andy, my old business partner, basically decided there was a bit of turmoil in the shareholders. Me and Andy wanted to go into building product, and Andy has now gone into building Shopify products and he's done very well, and he's very successful. Another recommendation, maybe a talk you should do with him.
Yeah, definitely.
His company probably turns over £1 million odd, and there's just a few of them. But he's built that business up on his own. So we basically had a bit of turmoil with the shareholders. Andy wanted to leave because he wasn't happy, because we were supposed to take the team on in the States to build product. And they ended up just getting sucked into our service business, because paying customers come first. And our shareholders our investors wasn't on that same journey we were. So Andy decided to leave, and then I just didn't feel like it was the same ever. So I left 6 months after, and we both sold our shares within the business to the shareholders.
How did that feel when you sold your shares?
Well, we didn't probably, we were too young to know what we could have got for them, and we probably sold up way too little for what we were, but it was a good experience in all.
Did you feel like it was an end of an era?
Yeah, it was definitely like it was like your baby. So it was our first real business, and that we'd done well. So kind of leaving was kind of a really emotional experience. A real letting go moment of your life, and kind of saying bye to something that you just spent 5 years building. But we knew it wasn't for us, and certainly the service industry is a really hard industry for anyone. It's a low margin industry. You have to be exceptional on your project management and your pricing, because you're selling hours. The minute you get that wrong, you're paying the customer. So there's a journey and loads of learnings across that. But there was like a moment whilst we were in Genie where we did actually build a product called Blurt. And Blurt, me and Andy in 2011, like won this kind of traveling scholarship to MIT, and it was given to us by the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Casually.
Casually at an event. Yeah, some great photos. So we had this experience of going to a company that was doing research in public sector, and he was just like, how can we use like big data, blah blah blah, to get better results on what people think about things. So we realized things like Twitter obviously were already capturing this information. It just weren't being analyzed. So we built something called Blurt, which was basically sentiment analysis for Twitter. So pulling 1 million tweets a second and then basically being able to say whether the world was a happy place or a sad place. And it's amazing what the results were actually shown on some of those things. But we built a product that we basically put out to, it was basically using the staff internally. It cost us about 25 grand in resources. And on the first rate, we rose 250,000 seed fund from a broadcaster. So a part of the BBC, which is a Welsh channel called S4C.
I've watched that late at night before.
Yeah, I
stumbled across it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, Publicum. So we ended up getting investment from the broadcaster, and that was purely because they were interested in kind of how we could analyze like political information.
Interesting.
And what people's political thoughts and opinions were. And the product grew and it ended up basically going into things like Sky Sports, and it would do fantasy league predictions on what people's like taking from social, what players should be in the fantasy team with their ratings that we created, a Blurt rating.
And when you created Blurt, did you know that's what it would become? Did you know it would become this beast almost of analytical data?
So we knew it would do its piece around the analytical thing. I think what we didn't know how to tie at the time was who the customer was and how much we should be selling to and how. So we didn't know what the model was behind it. It was more of an idea to solve a problem, but didn't have the business model at the time. So we basically, due to kind of all our existing contracts with the investors of PHP Genie and building the product within PHP Genie, we had to offshoot some of the shares to them as well as part of our contract. And then that kind of woke me and Andy up of actually anything we create, these guys will immediately own part of it because of the contract that we'd signed. So we ended up going through a process with solicitors of how do we get out of that clause, and the only thing that we could do is to sell the companies so that we left fully and then had no involvement with the old shareholders. So that's what we did. We basically sold the 2 companies. Me and Andy got some money out of it, and we spent some time then going around California in a camper van, touring, living the dream for a bit.
How important was that time after you sold that you actually took the time off to do that, to go in a camper van across California?
Oh, I think me and Andy both agree it was probably one of the best tours that we've ever done. But I think at the time we had put so much time and effort into the business. It was like the ultimate reward for us, so it was actually just kind of breathtaking just to... We had no responsibility to anyone for a change. So it was a complete breakaway. And I think I think for me and him, it was actually what do we do afterwards? But we had a brilliant time going around America, in a camper van and stuff, the Californian coast anyway. And then it was when we got back, straight back to business. I was just like, what do I do now? He already had his idea, so he kind of started building his Shopify product already. I ended up kind of starting DigitalProfile, I always had the urge there for DigitalProfile. I always knew what the problem was that I wanted to solve, but I hadn't actually thought about what the business plan was.
Yeah.
So I ended up basically getting myself into a bit of a mess by ended up starting a business. I'd accidentally spoke to someone which in my hand, all of a sudden I've got a 5-year contract for broadcasting rights for ice hockey channel.
So wait a minute. So 1 minute you're going around California in a camper van, and now the next minute you've got broadcasting rights to an ice hockey channel.
Yes. And
how?
It was just one of those bizarre conversations. You end up speaking to someone, and then you end up speaking to someone else, and before you know it, it's all happened. And the worst part about it for me was I knew nothing about broadcasting.
But so, did you like ice hockey?
I absolutely love ice hockey.
Oh well, that's something.
Yeah, I'm hugely passionate about it, about ice hockey. So I ended up for a year setting up with a Cardiff Devils in Cardiff, basically the Ice Time TV, and working on setting up a live production.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really actually one of the most hardest kind of from an hours the hours that you have to put in to do that kind of thing. Live broadcasting is a whole kind of an arena of work I've never experienced before.
Yeah. And when did DigitalProfile start pulling you back into focusing on that?
So I was actually juggling both. So I was trying to start DigitalProfile in the like normal week, and ice hockey is mainly on the weekends. So I then end up doing like all through the week, and whilst dabbling with a bit of the ice hockey stuff, and then having to do like full on 48-hour weekends.
Did you not burn out?
Yes, absolutely. So, and that was kind of the effect then of actually I needed to pick one.
Yeah.
And the one I want to do. And the great thing, the ice hockey is obviously a bigger scalable business. The broadcasting bit is what I wanted to do with DigitalProfile. And DigitalProfile was a product, whereas the Ice Time TV thing was a product, but it had an element of servicing people with a broadcast. And I was more passionate about the ice hockey than I was about the broadcasting. So we did well for a year, and someone took it over from us, and it still goes now, which is brilliant. And I watch it, I watch the Cardiff Devils through it still. And there was one time in my life I was sat in the ice hockey rink, and I went, one day I'm going to have my logo in the ice and on the jersey. And it's crazy when you kind of make those little goals to yourself or say them out loud. They accidentally happened. it must have been like a subliminal thing.
Yeah, word. You put it out there.
Yeah, and it just happened before you know it. I had my Ice Time TV logo on the jersey. It was in the ice, and we made it happen with a little bit of help from a few people, and it was one of those kind of year challenges where it was probably one of the most funnest things I've done, but still one of the most challenging, stressful ones. But the people that I was working with were absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the Christmas parties I will always remember is us in the porter cabin out the back of an ice rink basically having a twister party. In this confined space, and it was hilarious, and just having drinks and stuff, and like those kind of memories you'll never forget.
Exactly. So from ice hockey TV to then making the choice to focus on DigitalProfile full time, that's your one thing. How have you over the last couple of years built up DigitalProfile to where it is today?
So I met someone that a local businessman around where I live that I knew from my PHP Genie days. And he was a very big growing business, and I was talking to him, I remember, about my idea, and he just turned around and said, I want in.
Nice.
And I was just like, what do you mean you want in? What does that mean?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I want to invest this. He says, I spend so much money on recruitment. I got it'd be worth trying to invest.
At that point, did that thought of what if I fall out with the shareholders come through your mind again?
No, I kind of had a much different relationship with this guy, and I mean, he's still one of my main investors now, and he's absolutely brilliant. So he's been supporting the business over the last 2 years. You go through your ups and downs in the biz when you're starting off a product, and that's a real big different experience in trying to create a really big product to the stuff I've done previously. And that's where I thought all my previous business knowledge, I would have flown through this, but it's completely different and different lessons to learn again. So the product roller coaster. So we took seed investment, we built a prototype. The prototype worked really well, and we launched it on DigitalProfile.io originally, and it was for tech creative and digital folk. And basically we managed to secure .com. And then we made some kind of wrong choices, not wrong, just steered us off path is a better word. We lost focus. So we got .com, so we opened it up that anyone could use it, and then we didn't have any real direct marketing strategy. And then I ended up basically being introduced to councils and partnering with councils to use our product, and that took us down a whole new avenue. So last year we did like 160,000 with no product, like only with a basic product, with no commercial model attached to it. But what it was unfortunately doing this was not actually getting to the place that I wanted to get us to, which was B2B SaaS model.
At what point did you realize that?
So I did a masterclass with a guy called Bill Audit. It's not Audit. Audit. Bill Audit. So he's got a real good book called The Disciplined Entrepreneurship. And I actually got to meet this guy and spend the whole day on a training course with him, and I just realized how off course I'd gone. So there was a pivotal moment, and it was only recently October last year that this had happened. So we basically was just like, we need to absolutely focus this product down so it's for someone and for the people that we actually wanted to make it for. So we basically have been on the journey over the last 6 months remodeling our platform. It's now got a B2B SaaS model that we launched a couple of weeks ago, and it has 6,500 people on it, all digital tech people, with about 500 businesses. No recruitment agencies are allowed on it. So I hate the whole LinkedIn bombardment salespeople kind of thing. It's not a social network. It's a privacy focused user product. And since then, we launched our model like literally a few weeks ago, and we've already got monthly recurring revenue coming through. And we're only selling £50 packages on the platform at the moment, but we were up in our first week doing like £2,000 a month recurring revenue. So the goal is now by the end of the year to get to 100,000 recurring revenue, so that we can raise a serious Series A round to take it to the UK market better, stronger. So yeah, that was a real pivotal moment, and kind of going, shit, I've lost focus of everything.
So you realize you lost focus. What did you then do in terms of getting the focus back? You know, when you're speaking to your shareholders, when you're speaking to your staff, all that kind of stuff, were you literally like, right, let's put the brakes on, we need to change things up?
Yeah, it was actually literally that. So I got back off this course and I pulled everyone into a meeting, and I said, I'm going to change things radically. And everyone just looked at me like, what? And I said, stop all development. And we stopped all development. And then we basically worked together as a team. And basically throughout one day, we nailed who our product fitted at this. What we had was a really working, valuable product, but we just didn't know what the market was. Because we kind of, the personas and stuff that I created for the target person at the very early stages had kind of disintegrated from our focus. So it's kind of just really come back round to full fruition. back to like the start of who I was going after.
Exactly. Always does. It somehow always works out.
Yeah, it does. And so now we know that our product is for the tech creative and digital marketplace. We got a great community of people, talent using it. We got great businesses that believe in privacy and ethics.
Yeah.
And we're starting to work with bigger businesses as we go forward.
Incredible.
And the kind of model then was we need to look at working with businesses between 10 and 500 staff.
Yeah.
But I was having meetings like with really big companies that had like thousands of staff. So you realize how much time you're wasting going to meetings that the product doesn't fit. And you end up always having to try and make new features to make it work.
Yeah, it may look shiny because you're meeting these amazingly big companies, but you're just doing yourself a massive disadvantage in terms of the business focus.
Correct. Yeah. So we basically, it was a kind of focus. And we're still like working on our marketing messages now, and our site will start to become more split around us being only for tech creative and digital people. We're only just starting to make those changes to the platform itself. But we had, because we were working with councils previously, people were just like, we don't know what you are, but we're confused by your messaging. 1 minute you're talking about education because we were helping schools at one point.
It was all over the place then.
It was all, mate. It was all over the place. And now everyone gets what we do, and all we've done is just stop things.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing I've learned is to say no.
That's a great lesson there.
Say no to things is actually, you only say yes if it's within your plan. That's all you need to say yes to. Don't let anyone divert off what you're going for. The market's big enough. It's a great arena to be in. It's a growing marketplace, so there's no reason to divert.
And the fact that when you implemented this new change a couple of weeks ago, you got instant positive feedback.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is like, that must have been a bit of a breath of fresh air or relief that that worked. That stopped everything. That's a big thing. Putting your business effectively on hold and saying no to your almost like your current customers and going, right, we're changing things up. That's a big pressure that you probably put on yourself.
I've had to have some hard conversations, especially with the councils that we work with, and I mean some very senior people within councils that we're working on projects with, about stopping some of the stuff that we're doing. And it's a difficult thing because long term, when we've got the capital and stuff, we will do those things.
Yeah,
it's just we're not gonna fit. They're not gonna fit where we are right now.
Yeah, you got to be selfish to be selfless.
Absolutely. So it's been a bit of a journey going through that, but it's actually it's made things easier. So choosing which features to build now is really easy. So we can make sure that the features are for the right people and offering the right value. So recently we integrated things like a GitHub and Dribble into the profiles. And we'll extend that out to like CodePen and stuff, so people can pull things through to their profile. Whereas we were trying to build 50 integrations at once.
Yeah, trying to please everyone. You please no one.
Please everyone. Yeah.
So one question that I would love to ask you, because it was asked by the founders community that I run. It's especially focused because you've done quite a few fundraising over the past X amount of years.
Yes.
The question is what methods did you use to find the investors? I know it almost sounds a bit like that you knew them already, but
I actually, so there's actually a technique I used through networking. So this, when you're looking for angels, so there's two different levels of people that so I'm only just getting to the stage of early VC, and actually I found early stage VC and VC funding is really easy to kind of get a conversation. Getting a recommendation is always the best way with these guys. But I do things. So I'm a big sharer. So if you go on my LinkedIn, on some past posts, you'll find the deck that I secured like 300,000 in the early days of DigitalProfile. Nice. And also I've give like an open access to my investor list. with all the details, and they've had their permission and stuff, so people can access them. What I realized is I can give back. There's a lot of effort that goes into collecting those an hour.
Yeah, massively.
That rather than other founders spending time doing it, I allow people to access it. So if anyone ever wants to access to those things, just follow me on LinkedIn. But in terms of angels, so the best way I found is to become friends with solicitors and accountants. And the reason, there's two main reasons. One, they know when someone's selling their business.
Yeah.
And then the accountant knows generally how much it's being sold for.
So you've got the inside scoop.
You generally will get a call before anyone else if you let them know that you're looking.
So basically, go to networking events with accountants.
Accountants or solicitors. Yeah. I found that these two kind of founders or CEOs are selling their businesses because they're in the mix of it. And if you build good enough relationships, you'll kind of get the introductions through these guys.
That's a gem of it. That's a gem of a bit of advice.
Yeah. And then basically it's kind of, I read a blog once on then how to basically use like HubSpot as a CRM to target. There is also a really good technique for getting into VCs. So look at the VCs that operate in your area. Have a look who they've invested in and make those your customers. And then once you've given them success, ask them to recommend you into the VC.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to do things cold, it's always difficult. But I found that if you even send a good email to a VC and they like your deck, we get calls. I mean, I've had a call with the guys that invested into Spotify because they wanted to know more about us. We were way too early for their fund.
But now they know you.
But they know us, and we're on the radar when we get there.
And that's what people forget. They forget that most investors don't invest in who you are now. They're investing in who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And the earlier you can get on their radar, the earlier you can have these conversations. It may still struggle in those early days when they're going, oh yeah, we're not quite ready for you. But the moment they are ready for you, they're going to be calling you. They're going to be speaking to you.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of, once your traction picks up on your site, there is products out there now that is tracking all of these kind of things, which alert investors. So if all of a sudden you go 10 times growth, your investor will know, or an investor or VC will know about it just as much as you know about it, because they are analyzing these things in the background. So if you come attractive because of those things.
Your sound's gone.
Oh, is it gone?
Oh no, we've got a technical issue.
Break.
Let me mute you.
How about now?
No, Dan. Oh no. Hey, everyone listening, Dan's sound is gone. But what do? Do I end it? Do we wrap this up? We'll get you back on another day? I'm muting. I don't know. If you're listening in your car, hang on. If you're watching on live, hang on. Because Dan, let me bring you back in and out. What about now?
How about now?
No. Yeah. Oh.
Are we going to have to come out?
Listen, Dan, technical issue. We're going to have to wrap this up early. He's laughing. You can't hear him. But Dan, I want to thank you so much for the value that you did give. He did have really good points to give as well. He had some value bombs to end on. But for some reason, some technical issues. So we'll have to get you back on very, very soon to finish this conversation. But Dan, you've been guest number 39 on Founders365. This is the first time this has happened. I don't edit these. I don't do anything. So we're just rolling with it. So sorry for everyone listening to Dan's conversation. He will be back on. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Connect with him on, follow his company DigitalProfile. And if you're in the Founders Network, which is our private Founders community, he is in there as well, so you can chat to him. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been Founders365.